Hey friends, thanks so much for joining me today. We're gonna look at the biscuit jointer.
Biscuits? I thoroughly enjoy a biscuit with my tea.
Nah, dude, we're not talking about biscuits like that. We're talking about biscuits for this.
Oh, humbug.
All right, friends, so a biscuit jointer cuts a slot for you to have a biscuit in between two pieces of lumber. It is essentially a spring-loaded, you can see the springs on here. It's a spring-loaded little saw on edge that cuts a little groove into the lumber so that the biscuit, this little wooden piece we call a biscuit, can fit halfway in one piece and halfway in the other, joining those two pieces of wood. Used a lot in tables or bigger flat pieces where you don't have the access or you don't want to spend the money for a big wide piece. You can use a biscuit joiner to join multiple pieces and create the wider piece for you. So how that works, all right, so we have our biscuit joiner, we have our biscuit, and we have two pieces of wood here. We want to connect these two pieces of wood together to make a wider piece. So we'll look at the biscuit joiner. First, we need to see that we have a number 10 biscuit. There are different size biscuits. These are number 10s. They're kind of the mid-range. You can change how big your biscuit joiner is cutting, how deep. You can change it from a 0 biscuit or a S or D. I've never seen those. I've only seen a 0, 10, or 20. And I usually use the 10s because it's a pretty mid-range and it does a lot of things for us. So you'll set your depth, the number of biscuit you have, and that will dictate how far the biscuit joiner goes in, how far it goes into the lumber. So then the next thing we need to do is get a pencil. Great. And we'll also need some hearing protection. Awesome, because this can get kind of loud. So now that we have our pencil and our hearing protection, what we want to do is mark out where we will put our biscuits. So we're just marking some lines across here. It doesn't really matter where they are. It doesn't matter how big the spacing is. You want to kind of intermittently space them. But we want a line, and I always draw a line or draw some arrows. Draw some arrows where I start so that way they don't get turned around. So then, once we do that, we'll set one board to the side and we'll bring in our biscuit joiner. We will line up this red line on the front of the biscuit joiner with our pencil line that we made. I like to hold the board and then wrap my thumb around the back side, pressing down on the board. Then I'm gonna take the trigger and pull the trigger. That turns the blade on and gets it going, and then I'll pull the trigger and then press it in and let it come back. And then I usually go in and out again just to make sure I clean that up. Now remember, safety first, protect your eyeballs and your hearing. So then you can keep on walking down and do your next spot and your next spot. Now, you can hold that board if you want to. Here's what I would recommend. I would recommend go into a spot on your table that you have bench stops, where you can put bench stops. And then I would get 2 bench stops, and I would put those bench stops here so your project can go against those bench stops, and then you can push, and it has something pushing a force against it. So we'll go ahead, safety first, and we'll cut the rest of these slots. We'll do the same thing with the other board. And now we have our slots in both boards that we can go ahead and we can make sure our arrows line up. Then we want to do what's called a dry fit. When you do a dry fit, you take some biscuits. I need 3 of them. You put them in the slots that you cut. Then you line them back up, and you make sure everything is tight. If everything's tight, you're good to go ahead and glue. Everything is tight right here, so we can go ahead and we can glue. So what I would do to glue this is I would put glue in the slots. I would put my biscuits in the slots after I have glue in there. Then I would put glue on all of this. Then I would join it together, and I would glue that together, and I would clamp it in multiple spots. And then we'd have, in 12 hours or 24 hours, we'd have a wider board that we could go ahead and use. Hey folks, remember, when you do all this, remember to protect what you have. Protect your eyes and your ears. Protect your hearing. Also, remember to work hard, because hard work is its own reward. And thanks for watching. Oh, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, folks. And I've heard that subscribing to this channel kind of makes you want to dance. So